In trading, we get so obsessed with the charts, the indicators, the hot new strategy. But what if the biggest factor, the thing that really decides if you win or lose, isn't on your screen at all, but right between your ears? Today, we're diving into the most critical and honestly, the most ignored part of trading, your own mind. So let's pull back the curtain on our own brains and see what's really going on in there.
So here's a stat that you hear all the time in the trading world, and it is absolutely mind-blowing. 80%. 80% of your success comes down to your emotional discipline and psychological management.
Which leaves just 20% for the actual strategy. The entry points, the indicators, all the stuff we spend countless hours studying. Just think about that for a second. The vast majority of what matters is psychological.
So you gotta ask, right? If psychology is the heavyweight champion here, why do most of us act like it's not even in the ring? Why are we so focused on that little 20%? Well, that's exactly what we're gonna unpack.
The legendary trader Paul Tudor Jones absolutely nailed it. He said success isn't about trying to hit home runs on every single trade. Nope. It's about protecting what you have, managing your risk, just surviving to play another day. It is all about defense. But here's the big twist. Your defense isn't just against a crazy market. A lot of the time, it's a defense against your own impulses, your own biases, your own brain. The biggest threat to your trading account might literally be staring back at you in the mirror.
So how exactly does this internal opponent work? Well, let's start by looking at our brain's basic blueprint. See, our minds are kind of wired with these invisible glitches, these mental shortcuts that can be completely disastrous when you're in a high-stakes game like trading.
And these glitches have a name. They're called cognitive biases. Now, these aren't character flaws, okay? They're just predictable patterns in how our brain tries to simplify a really complex world. In everyday life, they're actually pretty useful. But in trading, oh man, they can be catastrophic. And look, if you think being super smart makes you immune to this stuff, let me tell you a little story. It's about a hedge fund called Long-Term Capital Management. We're talking about a firm run by actual geniuses. Two Nobel Prize winners who thought they had completely cracked the code to the financial markets. This case just perfectly illustrates the danger. On the one hand, you have their belief, which was just dripping with overconfidence bias. They truly thought their models were infallible. But the reality? They ignored obvious risks, took on insane amounts of leverage, and the fund collapsed so hard it almost took the entire global financial system down with it. It's just proof that nobody is immune. Okay, so LTCM is an extreme case of overconfidence, but let's talk about one that probably hits a little closer to home for all of us, the self-serving bias. Oh, you know this one. A trade goes your way, it's because you're a genius, pure skill. But when you lose, that was just bad luck, or the market was rigged. See, this way of thinking is so dangerous because it completely stops you from learning from your mistakes. But it's not just about these flawed ways of thinking. There's also some really powerful chemistry going on inside your brain every single time you open up your trading app. Let's get into the chemistry of what can actually become a trading addiction. Okay, now this right here is a really crucial point. We tend to think of dopamine as the pleasure chemical you get when you win, but that's actually a common misconception. The brain releases dopamine in anticipation of a potential reward. It's the chemical of motivation, of craving. It's the wanting, not the having. And this is where modern trading apps are so potent. They basically provide cheap dopamine on demand. With just one click, you get that instant hit of anticipation. It is the exact same chemical loop that gets you stuck endlessly scrolling social media. You're not even looking for anything specific. You're just chasing that next potential little hit of something new. And this creates a really dangerous feedback loop. Look, it's simple. You just think about placing a trade, maybe you just open the app, and boom, your brain releases dopamine. You get that little rush. And then your brain, remembering that good feeling, starts to crave it again. And this is the crazy part. It craves it whether you won or lost money. The act of trading becomes the reward. So what happens when you combine these cognitive biases with a brain hooked on a dopamine loop? Well, you get what I call the trader's downward spiral. Let's talk about the specific destructive behaviors that can absolutely wipe out an account. And first up, we have the most notorious account killer of them all, revenge trading. You take a loss, and instead of just taking it on the chin and moving on, you feel this burning need to get your money back from the market right now. So you jump back in, usually with a bigger position size, with a terrible plan, driven by nothing but pure anger and frustration. I really want you to let this one sink in. One impulsive, emotional decision to chase a loss can do more damage and do it way faster than a fundamentally flawed strategy could over months. Your emotional reaction is a far bigger risk than your technical analysis. And then there's its sneaky cousin, overtrading. Now, this isn't always driven by anger. A lot of the time, it's just boredom, or that fear of missing out, or simply that craving for another little dopamine hit. You're trading for the sake of trading, not because there's a genuinely good setup right in front of you. This table here just breaks down the difference so clearly. Active trading, it's planned, it's systematic, your risk is managed. Overtrading, it's impulsive, it's emotional, it's all over the place. The entire mindset shifts from quality over quantity to quantity over quality. So just be honest with yourself for a second. Which column better describes your last trading session? Okay, so we've laid out all the problems, the biases, the dopamine loops, the destructive behaviors, but how do we actually fix this stuff? This last part is all about solutions you can actually use. It's about building systems to protect you from yourself. And this is the most important takeaway. Trying to fight your brain's basic wiring with sheer willpower, it's a losing battle. Eventually, you're going to get tired and you're going to slip up. The real solution isn't to become some kind of superhuman monk. It's to create a structure, a system that makes it harder for you to make those bad decisions in the first place. Here is a perfect practical example of a system, a post-loss ritual. Step 1, before the market even opens, you decide your maximum loss for the day. Step 2, the second you hit that number, you're done. You close the platform, no exceptions. No one last trade. Then you walk away, refocus, and review what happened later. This simple ritual physically breaks that emotional loop before a revenge trade can even start. So what about the long term? How do we manage those biases we talked about? Well, to fight that self-serving bias, you have to document every single trade. Why you took it, what happened, everything. It forces you to be brutally honest. To stop making impulsive decisions, you create a trading plan, and you follow it religiously. You do all your thinking when the market is closed, so all you have to do is execute your plan when it's open. And to catch those emotional triggers, practice mindfulness, or just talk to other traders. Sharing these struggles helps you realize you're not alone in this fight. And that really brings us to the final, most important question of all. You can't control the market. It's going to do what it's going to do. It is a totally uncontrollable force. The only variable in this whole equation that you have absolute power over is you, your decisions, your discipline, your reactions. So the real question is, can you control yourself?